Hi, everyone. My name is Irina Lucenko, and I am absolutely thrilled and excited to be here. My name is Irina Lutsenko, and I'm a teacher of English as a foreign language, but I'm a huge fan of writing. And I teach a lot of writing courses, exam writing and creative writing. So, writing for IELTS, for proficiency, blogging, creative writing, you name it, all manner of writing courses. And last year, I was talking at the conference in Yaroslavl about getting your students to write when they don't have to. I was talking about how tasks in course books are boring and students don't want to write them, and we can make them more fun, more relevant, more natural. So I was talking about that. And this year, I'm going to talk about how you, as a teacher, might want to write for your students. So the name of my talk this year is Write Your Own Model Answer and Put It to Good Use. In writing classes, I'm sure you know, it will sound familiar. If there's one thing a student wants is a model answer. And they will tell you, give me the model answer, show me the way it should look, and I will imitate it and I will write the same thing. So I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to share some very, very, very practical activities that you can do with model answers.
Хотите постоянно развиваться в преподавании иностранных языков? Школа Дмитрия Никитина проводит образовательные тренинги, конференции и курсы для преподавателей. Подробности о событиях можно узнать по ссылке в описании.
Now you're listening to me, and I'm sure you're thinking, Irina, have you lost your mind? Are you insane? Why on earth would you write your own model answer? Don't course books and the internet have them galore already? Why would you want to write your own? Now, hear me out. I have 5 reasons for you to write your own model answer for your students. And my first reason is literally the last slide of my presentation last year. If you watch it, and it's available, you can watch it. If you watch it, you will see that this is literally the last slide. The main reason for you to write your own model answer is to set an example. And I finished my presentation with saying, they don't write because you don't write. And I also quoted this, example is not the main thing in influencing others, it's the only thing. So when you set an example, when you write, students are more likely to write. This is my firm belief, and I have also experienced that plenty of times. Now, the second reason is to set the right tone. Because very often, in writing classes, the tone or the undercurrent is that the teacher is the queen of writing or the king of writing. They know how to write. Their writing is certainly excellent, but no one will ever see it. Now, this is not the tone I want. The tone I want for my classes is, we are peers. You write, I write. You will see my writing with your own eyes. You are free to ask questions, to raise doubts about it. We are peers. We are together in this. This is the tone I want. Why? Because again, I firmly believe that this will make your students more likely to write. The next reason is, when you write your own model answer, you can actually illustrate a specific point you want. Now, let's say you want to demonstrate referencing in action. Let's say you want to demonstrate, I'm a huge fan of this structure, do so. Do so is a very advanced referencing structure, but it rarely emerges in course books. So I can't find an answer for my students. So sometimes when you want to illustrate a specific thing, because students have trouble with it, you just can't find something in a course book or on the internet. And you look and you look and you look, the topic is wrong, the grammar is wrong, the material is wrong, the level is wrong, everything is wrong. So you can write your own thing to include exactly what your students need. And it might even be much, much faster. You might spend 3 hours on looking and only 1 hour on writing. Reason 4, you can predict difficulties. For example, the first topic, this is an IELTS topic I wrote recently. Nowadays, a growing number of people with health problems are trying alternative medicines and treatments instead of visiting their usual doctor. Do you think it's a positive or a negative development? When I was writing this, one problem emerged. I had to repeat the word alternative medicine, and usual doctor. I had to repeat it a lot of times. So I started thinking, how can I say it differently? What are the synonyms? And I came up with a bunch of synonyms. So we can say traditional, untraditional medicine, conventional, unconventional medicine, mainstream, non-mainstream, alternative medicine, and medicines and treatments. We can say medicine, therapies, practices, right? So by the time I am teaching this, by the time my students are writing this, I have a list of synonyms for them. Okay, I'm ready, right? And my students are more ready as well. Now let's have a look at the second topic. Some people believe that women should be able to serve in the country's army and police forces. Others think that only men should be allowed to work in these areas. Same problem. Men and women, you have to repeat it 100 times. But the problem is, the difficulty is, there are no synonyms for men and women. What else can you possibly say? It's just men and women. Okay, you can say male officer, female officer, but nothing else, basically. So I had a problem. By the time my students were writing, I had a solution. Referencing pronouns, right? They or shall nouns like genders, both genders, each gender. So again, I predicted a difficulty and I had a solution already. Reason five. Reason five is you will actually feel more confident because you can explain absolutely everything in the text, in the model answer that you have. Every single lexical item, every single grammatical choice you made, your train of thought, etc. Because sometimes you look at course books, you look at these model answers and the students will ask you, but why is this the case here? Why did the writer write this? And you just you shrug your shoulders and you say, I don't know why. I don't know why. When students ask you that about your writing, you know why. As a result, you feel more confident. And this is a picture of me from the conference last year. Look how confident I look because I presented the talk, I wrote myself, and it made me very, very confident. So when you do something on your own, you're confident because you know everything about it. Okay, these are my 5 reasons. I hope you're convinced. If you're not convinced, feel free to message me or add your own reasons. Now, the name of my talk is Write Your Own Model Answer and Put It to Good Use. What is this good use? Now, good use for me is you work towards a specific goal. You work on practicing a certain point, a certain grammar point, or something that you need to work on. Because very often, what we have in course books is very limited. They are usually all the same tasks, and sometimes important things, they're not even covered in the book, but you need them. So keeping in mind that you will create certain exercises and certain activities you will do that to work towards a specific goal, to practice something specific that you have in mind. Let's move on to examples. I have plenty. Now, the good old gap fill, but use it wisely. What can you do? Let's say you want to work on topic sentences. A topic sentence is the very first sentence of the paragraph. It gives the main topic. It gives the main idea. And you need to practice it. It's very important to get it right. So what do? You give your students a paragraph and you simply delete the topic sentence and you ask them to write it in. Okay, and then you compare. Did the students get it right? What is the difference? Did the students guess more or less, or was it completely different? And this is how the students will learn to write topic sentences. Then, let's say you want to work on tie-in sentences. A tie-in sentence is the last sentence of the paragraph. It kind of finishes, wraps up your argument. You give your students a paragraph, and you ask them to write a tie-in sentence. And then you compare with your version. Did the students get it right? Why? Why not? I'm giving you here the same paragraph as I showed you on the previous slide. And you can do the same with your students because the students are highly unlikely to remember it. But even if they do remember it, it's not bad, actually. But if you want to surprise your students, if you want to challenge them, give them a completely, entirely new paragraph. But I see nothing wrong with repeating and using the same paragraph. Then, here is the slide with the key. This is the full paragraph, what it looks like. You can scrutinize it on your own. Still, the gap fill. Let's keep using it wisely. We can practice all manner of cohesive devices because in course books, cohesive devices is usually just one thing. Words like however, moreover, furthermore. You know, cohesive devices are devices that link the text, that glue the text together. But there are many of them, all manner of them, not just one. And this is something I want to show to my student. So here is a paragraph. All manner of cohesive devices. I want you to pause the recording and think about what fits in each gap. I want you to take a break, to think about it. And here is the key. Now, if you look at this, you will see that each gap is a different cohesive device. A pronoun, a verb, which, thus, the classical as a result. Now, this kind of exercise helps your students to understand that cohesive devices are everywhere. They're in the middle. They are used throughout the whole text. It's not just however. But say your students are maybe, they need a specific practice. They want to practice on one specific thing, one specific cohesive device. What you can do is actually you can delete the same type of cohesive devices. Like in this case, I underlined all pronouns, and you can delete all pronouns to show how referencing works. Can they guess them? Can they identify what they refer to? Now, this is what I call wise use of gaps.
Хотите постоянно развиваться в преподавании иностранных языков? Школа Дмитрия Никитина проводит образовательные тренинги, конференции и курсы для преподавателей. Подробности о событиях можно узнать по ссылке в описании.
Then, let's say you want to work on idea development. What do? You give your students a sentence and you ask them to finish it, right? For example, in my opinion, this trend, the fact that people go shopping as a hobby, is detrimental to the younger generation. Because in essence, when people invest time into shopping, it means, and when you tell them it means, basically you give them a very specific direction on how to proceed with the paragraph. So they write the ending of this sentence. And then you give them your sentence and you compare. Very often when you give them this kind of phrase, it means, students are able to guess your sentence, more or less. Of course, what will happen most of the time is the students will guess your idea, but they will not guess your vocabulary, which can be one more topic to discuss. Why did I use the vocabulary I used? How is your vocabulary different? Or you can focus on idea development only. Now here, I'm giving the students my continuation. It means they're not investing it into acquiring skills and expertise, which, and then your students can continue it even further. Which what? Skills, which what? And again, this is so specific that it's very easy for students to continue. And this is how they work on idea development, because you give them these specific directions. It means which, and these directions are very easy to follow. And you can basically continue this even further. Like I have what's more, and you can write the whole paragraph this way. Then another problem that many students, let's say they get the idea development right, they get cohesive devices right, everything is good. But very often what I see is after we practice all that a lot, people forget about grammar suddenly. And they write a great logical essay. Unfortunately, it's very basic and very elementary. Now look at this paragraph. I want to give it to pause the recording and give it some thought. What's wrong with it? And what's wrong with it is that all the sentences are very simple. Fancy vocabulary, good idea development. But in terms of grammar, subject, verb, it's very, very basic. Now, you ask your students to join some of the sentences. Now, this can be a bit challenging to lower level students, for example, maybe less challenging to higher level students. So you can ask them to do that, or you can discuss this together. Which sentences belong together? Let's identify the sentences that belong together. Or you can even mark the sentences that need to be joined together to make the task less challenging. I am underlining here, when I give this exercise to my students, I usually highlight the different sentences that need to be joined in different colors. So all yellow sentences have to be joined, all blue sentences have to be joined. This is less challenging. Now let's look at this sentence, two sentences that I underlined. I want you to pause the recording to think about how the sentences are connected and to join them. So I hope you pause the recording. And here is my solution, right? What's the connection between the sentences? Cause effect. My solution is the conjunction since. And we have, instead of two simple sentences, we have one complex sentence. And it sounds so much better. And here is my answer. Here is the whole paragraph, the answer that I originally wrote. And you can scrutinize it on your own. Then, how about no gaps? Gaps are simple, they are familiar, they're good, but how about no gaps? Now, this is IELTS writing task 1. And in IELTS writing task 1, one tiny little word can make a huge difference in meaning. So what I do is I give them words, like in this case 3, but I don't give them the gaps. And they have to identify the places for the words on their own. Again, it's a bit challenging, but with some of my groups that are experienced writers, I don't even give them the words. I say, some words are missing, which words? And they have to identify the words like respectively. They have to identify the place where it belongs on their own. It's challenging, but I like to challenge my students. Here is the answer, here is the solution, and you can scrutinize it on your own. Again, why does each word belong in this gap? Then, let's say you want to focus on sentence structures, very, very specific sentence structures. Because some types of writing, they have characteristic sentence structures. For example, this is a C2 proficiency book review. So you have gaps. And you show them to your students and you ask them, what's missing in these sentences? I want you to pause the recording and give it some thought, like what's missing? What's missing? And very often the answer will be, nothing is missing. Nothing is missing. These are already good sentences. Like, let's look at the first sentence. Rewards work in insidious ways. Fine, rewards work. Nothing is missing. Last sentence. The insidiousness sinks in eventually. Insidiousness sinks. What's missing? Nothing is missing, but something is missing. So you draw your students' attention to this structure, like something is in the middle, but the sentence is good without it. So you give your students some options, what to put in the gaps. They put something in the gaps. And then you discuss this, like the rewards, the author laments, work in insidious ways. If we put these phrases in the middle, what effect is achieved? Why don't we say the author laments that rewards work in insidious ways? When you use this sentence structure, which is very characteristic of book reviews, a certain effect is achieved. And the effect is creating suspense, because you are delaying introducing the verb for your subject, which is a very good idea in a book review. You need to keep the reader engaged. Generally in proficiency, you need to keep the reader engaged. Sometimes, like I told you, I like to challenge my students. You give them the phrases that they need to put in, but you don't give them the gaps. Now, this is something I do at a later stage when students already know what to expect. So they already know the structure, and I want to challenge them a little bit. Finally, punctuation. Let's look at this paragraph. Pause the recording, give it a read. What do you notice about this paragraph? There's no punctuation. Well, there are periods, but other than that, there is no punctuation. Now, what happens if there is no punctuation? Students will tell you inevitably, immediately, it's very difficult to read without punctuation. So, because again, punctuation is the Cinderella of the writing classroom. Punctuation, people don't pay attention. Who cares if there is a comma? But it's hard to read without punctuation. So you delete all punctuation and they need to put it back in. This is my key and you can scrutinize it. But if you want to make it less challenging for your students, only delete one type of punctuation. For example, only delete commas. And this will be easier.
Хотите постоянно развиваться в преподавании иностранных языков? Школа Дмитрия Никитина проводит образовательные тренинги, конференции и курсы для преподавателей. Подробности о событиях можно узнать по ссылке в описании.
I have a bonus for you. Reuse the same paragraph or the same modal answer over and over again. You can do different activities with the same paragraph. You can do them in one class, one by one. So maybe in this time, at the beginning, you will delete the first sentence. Then you will delete all cohesive devices. Then you will delete something else. And students are, on the one hand, they are unlikely to remember the specific things that you deleted. On the other hand, if they do remember, fine, good. It's good that they remember. Or if you want to challenge them, of course, you can do this over several classes. If something was especially important or especially challenging, do it 2 classes later and see how much they can remember. So, but recycle and reuse, and this will be helpful to students very, very, very much. I want to finish my presentation this year, the exact same way I finished it last year, with the exact same quote. Example is not the main thing in influencing others, it's the only thing. Now, here is a photo of Happy Me at the conference last year. Now, the way you will be influencing your students when you write your own model answers is twofold. One is you will be setting an example and you will be inspiring them. And the second reason is you will influence them because you will teach them and you will create activities for the exact material that they need to practice, the exact weakness they have. Because other materials might not address it at all. And thank you so much for listening. If you were scrutinizing my presentation, my slides, if you had questions, feel free to reach out to me on social media. Feel free to ask me questions. I like writing. I write a lot, and I get my students to write. My students write a lot as well. And if you want to write, if you have questions, feel free to message me. And thank you so much for listening and have a nice day. Thank you.